Hello, good afternoon, good morning, good evening. It's great to see you all here again. I think, by the time we finish up, our welcome, we will have more people. We still have people joining in. It's a pleasure to be here and to be having our 8th edition of the Comms Lab series. So it's our 8th webinar on communication. It's a series of webinars that we established in IW Learn 5, so in the current phase of the project, responding to the needs of the comms community that said, that they would appreciate developing the skills further, developing new skills, further sharpening, their existing skills and developing new capacities. And of course, always taking into consideration that things are evolving. I think we have seen major changes in communication, the way we communicate, the way we perceive things, the way that we perceive, what we see and what we hear. So we are moving on to new forms of passing on the messages, of communicating our messages, or we're exploring new ways of communicating our messages. And this is particularly important, not only for the GEF International Waters projects, but also for the work that you are doing in order to communicate better, more efficiently and get your messages across of what you're doing in your projects. But also beyond that, it's a way of proving your work. And at a time that funding is very much limited, it's our way, to support fundraising and resource mobilization efforts. So the more you communicate, or the more efficiently you communicate your results, the better opportunities you have to raise more funds to continue working on the ground. So with this, I would like to officially welcome you to this 8th edition of the Comms Lab series of IW Learn with our partners from GRID-Arendal. I see Olivia here. I'm pretty sure there is someone else that I'm missing from the GRIDA team. And of course, the IW Learn team, Francesca is here, and I guess somewhere hidden is also Camila. So on behalf of IW Learn and our partners, welcome to this webinar, and I'm passing the floor on to Olivia. Olivia, over to you. You're muted.
Yes, because Hasan will do the presentation. So Olivia, no need to unmute because they're in the same room, so it'll be a bit chaotic to hear otherwise. So Hasan will be presenting the webinar today on visual communication. So Hasan, as Konstantina said, the floor is yours.
Okay. Let's see. Hello, everyone. My name is Hasan, and I work as a visual communication expert and art lead at GRID-Arendal. Prior to GRID, I worked as an animator and illustrator for games, comic books, and animated films, and I've been in science communication for a little over 4 years, almost 5 years now. And for today's webinar, we have several goals. So it is a visual communication webinar, visual communication in science communication specifically. And the main goals is to understand why visuals matter, what role visual communication plays in science communication, learn some basic concepts and tools to develop and create visualizations, and some pointers on how to work with designers as well. And the way this webinar will progress is I will give a little introduction to visual communication and then go over some of the fundamentals of visual communication that I find important in my work, and then do a very brief, quick demo on user-friendly designer tools in PowerPoint and Canva. And then I'll also go over some of the pointers on how to collaborate more efficiently with designers. And hopefully at the end, we will have some time for reflection. So let's start by framing what we mean by visual communication in the arena of science communication, what role visual communication plays, and why does it matter? Visual communication can be described in many ways and can encompass anything visual. But essentially, it is anytime you use visual elements to communicate an idea or deliver a message. It could be done in combination of written or spoken words, where it is used as an aid to help convey the message more clearly and engagingly. Or it could be done solely using visuals. Why visual communication works is because it is intuitive. It is the simplest form of communication. As far as we know, it was the first form of communication before the spoken and written word, and it requires very little processing. And what I mean by that is if you have seen something before and it holds a very particular meaning for you, and that meaning is shared by others in society, universally, or among the group you're communicating with, then all you have to do is bring its image to their site, and that's what a visual communication essentially is. Having the same understanding of something and then having an ability to share it with others. And throughout history, visual communication has been used in many ways. It has been used for storytelling, which creates emotional engagement, inspire action, or shape social dynamics. It is used for practical purposes like traffic signs or signs in the airport to convey fast, simple, clear information with very little room for misunderstanding, using universal iconic visual motifs like for parking signs, for no smoking signs, and so it's very fast. It doesn't require any words. And it's the meaning of it is shared universally. And we have. And sometimes it is the only way to communicate, like something like identifying muscles and vascular system in a human body, or an array of data points that are beyond human comprehension, and to make it meaningful using visualization. These are the main three ways I look at visual communication in science communication: for storytelling, to convey, deliver fast information, and when there is no other way to communicate but through visual means. In science communication, visual is not just about making things pretty. Visual matters to enhance clarity and retention, support collaboration with non-scientific stakeholders, and create a bridge between science and non-scientific world. So now we have covered the reasons of why visual communication matters and what role it plays in science communication. Now we can go over some of the very basics of visualization. You may start by thinking about universal visual motifs and shared understanding of visual image among your target audience. For instance, an image of a camera can easily represent photos. Lab work can be represented by something like a beaker or any other lab equipment that is commonly used. Tools can be represented by a wrench or any other commonly used tools. For visualizing these iconic motifs, what you have to think of their images in a very simplest form, like a square, circle, lines, and triangles. Then you're one step closer to drawing them in a manner that makes them recognizable. And every object is essentially made of a very simple shape in its overall form and design. For instance, an icon for a camera is a few rectangles, circles arranged in a specific way that makes it visually recognizable as a camera. Visual communication for most is about simplicity, clarity, and fast delivery of information. We reduce the amount of detail to avoid confusion and misinformation, and add only details that are essential to make it recognizable. Even something as complex as an animal, like a reindeer, can be reduced to very simple shapes. This is one of the first steps of drawing with visual accuracy. So even in the simplest form, it's visually recognizable as a reindeer. We get the main shapes right proportionally in the right place, the big shapes that makes the whole thing, the building blocks. Details doesn't make anything visually recognizable. It is the main form and an iconic feature like antlers for a reindeer that gives it its visual identity. And then once you have the main forms, main shapes, all you have to do is bring them together with an outline, adding some details while not losing the main form underneath it. And that's what makes it visually recognizable. And then you can fill it in, and it's still easily recognizable as a reindeer, even without any major details like eyes, mouth, fur, or colors. And it remains recognizable even at a smaller scale. So that's a very quick demo on how to visualize pretty much anything. And the key is in simplification, maintaining its core structure, form throughout and always includes something iconic, like antlers for a reindeer, that makes it very recognizable, easily recognizable, at least. So the last section, we covered how to think visually and a brief demo on how to visualize something using basic drawing practices. Now we can look at some of the fundamentals of visual communication. There's a lot of fundamentals of visual communication, but the three main that I find most helpful in my work are structure, visual hierarchy, and focal point. So structure is the overall layout of any design. Here you can see an example of an A4 flyer we did for a project, and the structure mainly consists of margins, spacing, balance, and stability. So margins is basically a space around the border, contains all the visual elements within it. You can also use margins to align things or anchor things to, but mostly it is so nothing is placed outside of that designated space to create a solid visual framing and a border around it. Next is spacing. Spacing can be used to group things together. Which visual elements are supposed to be looked together. So space between two groups is wider than the space between two elements within the same group. That's how you divide anything into sections. And then is the balance. So all visual elements throughout should balance each other. No space is heavier or lighter than the other. Visual weight across the canvas stays balanced. Blocks of text, even together, can also be treated as visual elements. Also, empty space should also be considered and should be balanced throughout the layout. And with all of these things together, you will end up with a very stable layout that engages the audience rather than disorients them or confuses them. Next is a visual hierarchy, so which is basically visually communicating to your viewer which elements to look at first and then next on and so on. And you can do that in different ways. One of the ways is using the size, the scale of things. So this is an event social media card. So I want the viewer to look at the date first because that is the most important information for the viewer to retain. And I do that by using the size of the date and place. It's the biggest element in the whole design. And the buildings next to it just is a visual complement to it that makes the information more appealing and engaging. And then next is the list of speakers, so which is placed at the center next to the biggest element, and it also occupies the most space on the card, but the small font brings it down to like third place in the visual hierarchy. And then is the logo, which has the highest contrast, but the date beats it for attention because of the size. And then the last is the title of the session that follows the flow of the visual leading back to the date and place. The logos and moderators is treated as supplementary information, not because it is not important, but because it falls lower in the hierarchy that serves the main purpose of this particular visual communication piece. Not everything can be equally important in visual communication, otherwise nothing is viewed important by the viewer. It will create a flat, unengaging piece that will fail to communicate anything meaningful to the audience. And then the last is focal point. That is the main thing you want, or the first thing you want the viewer to see. It follows the same rules as visual hierarchy, but one additional thing that you can use is composition lines, which is lines in composition that literally points to the to you that you want the viewer to look at first. So here you can see all the lines from the numbers are converging to the title of the piece, and I want the viewer to really focus on that to understand what these numbers actually mean. That was the main fundamentals for visual communication that I find most useful in creating clear, understandable, engaging visual communication materials. So structure, hierarchy, and focal point. Now I want to touch a little bit on contrast, specifically on color contrast. So creating contrast through colors is not just using different colors or complementary colors or harmonious colors. That is just changing the hue or pairing hues together. The two other elements that are essential for creating contrast using colors are saturation and brightness. So brightness. Brightness is basically the lightness and darkness of a color. So in row A, you can see we have 5 different colors with the 5 different levels of brightness. On row B, you have 5 different colors, but same level of brightness. And if you put 2 swatches together from each row, you can see row B creates low contrast compared to row A, which has different variations of brightness, even though I'm using the same row of colors. And even the next is saturation, which is the intensity of the pigment. How much pigment do you have in the color? How saturated it is. So even using one color, if I just change the saturation of that color, you can create contrast within that same color. And you can see that in the row C, it's using red pigment, and on the left is very desaturated, and on the right is very saturated. And if you put them together, you can see it can still create contrast. And hue, I mean, it's very difficult to create contrast using just the changing colors. But if you must do that, the best way to do it is to use the lightest form of the colors. But because the darkest it becomes, it gets closer to black and it starts blending together. And then a quick note on contrast for text. In digital versus print. In digital, light text works on a dark background. On a print, dark text reads better on a light background. And that's mainly because on digital it's backlit, and when you have a bigger surface of white, it's not very pleasing to eye, and it becomes, especially if the text is small, it becomes very difficult to read, or it's just not very pleasant to the eyes. But if, especially on a big screen, if you're giving presentations and things, or you have slides that will stay on for a longer period of time, consider using a darker background on using lighter text. On print, it is this idea is more important when it's printed at a smaller scale, like A4 up to A3. You have to consider using darker text on lighter background. But if you have like a poster size, then it becomes less important. Then you can use a dark background with light text because the surface area increases, and then it becomes a bit easier. You can use larger fonts, and it becomes easier to read. Okay, now for the demo, I will do a very quick demo using showing some basic design tools, very quick and useful design tools on PowerPoint and Canva. I have to stop sharing. Let's see if I can share window. And stop sharing for a minute. And then, just give me a minute. Okay. I can do this one. So Canva, yeah, you got it. So Canva is a very user-friendly design tool. It's available online, and you can also download it on your desktop. It is a paid service, but it doesn't require extensive design skills to be able to use it. So here you can see the main interface for the program, and they have several options. So if you want to make a social media card, you can click on that, and then you can pick the ratio what you want to create, and then it will give you a blank screen. But you have a lot of already pre-composed templates to start with, and you can take one of those, and then you can quickly edit them. You can change colors, so it's very easy to use. You can even change colors of the illustrations that they're using. Yeah, and of course you can edit the text as well. Yeah, that's and one really nice thing about the Canva is that you can make brand kits if you're working on multiple projects and you have different branding styles and guides for it. You can have all the logos, the color palettes, fonts, even pictures and graphics stored in one place, which can help you create quickly all the graphics. So you don't have to always go back and reference and find the right colors or the right logos for it. So I think that's a very useful tool for it. And then you can also create very quickly some like bar graphs and stuff, and it's very easy to use. Like you have a bar graph here, you can change numbers and it quickly updates the graph in itself. It requires very little design skills, as long as you know what you want, and you can use the pre-existing templates and make something very quickly. And if I go back, do you still see my screen? Okay. And on PowerPoint, there's also very quick. You cannot see PowerPoint, huh? If I stop sharing, and then I go back, and I do this. Share window. Can you see it now? Okay. All right. So one cool thing is they have an automatic designer on PowerPoint. So you can start with a blank presentation and you start typing in the title of whatever you're presenting. And then it should give you, if you click away, it should generate some design ideas for you very quickly. And then you can pick and choose whichever one works for you. And then you can start adding more information, and then it will give you even further ideas based on what you just edit as well. And then here, I think if you go insert, you also have they have a very huge library for icons that you can use easily. So if I say visual here, so they have this one. I want to insert it here. And then if I double click it, I can also, it's the same. You can also change the colors here as well. Make it red. and you can add like a line to it. White outline. So it's easily customizable as well. So and then they have also have images, a lot of stock images that you can use, and then they have a library of illustrations as well to pick from that you can also edit and customize yourself. They have people that you can use as well. Quickly put it in. Have it here. Yeah, okay. And more things you add, the designer tool will give you suggestions based on new suggestions based on everything you add. So you can always it will always be there to guide you. And I think it's a very quick and good way to, if you don't have a design background, to find good to make good slides, good looking slides. All right, stop sharing. And then if I go back to my presentation. All right. Okay. Here was, yeah. All right. So that was a very quick demo of those tools, but you can keep exploring, and it doesn't require much design background or skills, as long as you know some of the fundamentals, or keep in mind some of the fundamentals that I'm covering here. I think it's a very good way to start. And now I think we can talk a little about how to collaborate more efficiently with designers. And then there's three things to keep in mind. If you're going to collaborate with designers, even before you approach a designer, is how to create a design brief, what content you want to be visualized, and also consider how many people or who will be giving feedback, and what the process will look like throughout the whole development process. So for design brief, it's important to think about the main goal, main objective, and what one main message that you want to convey with whatever visual product you want to create. You also have to think about target audience, and not just who you will like to reach, but who will actually receive your product, and who will actually see your product. And then also think about the criteria, like what standard, what expectations you have, what if you have a specific style in mind, some parameters like technical limitations, what budget you have, how much time you have, and yeah, so any limitations that you can give to the designer is good. More freedom you give, it opens up more possibilities, and it makes the process even much longer and even complicated. So try to come up with some limitations to the process in itself, and that will help simplify and make it more efficient. And also try to gather some examples of what you like and what you have in mind. So the designer so it's easier for the designer to understand what you're expecting. And also if you have some design skill, just to sketch out what you have in your mind, and that makes the communication a little bit better. And then you also have to think about the content and how what is going to be on the visual products. So for instance, in this social media card, you need to have a date, a time, the place, and the list of speakers already set, because for instance, the number of speakers in this social media card defines how the overall design will look. So if it were only 2 speakers, it will be a very different design. But since you have 5, 6 speakers there, the layout of the design changes based on that. So think about the content, what content's going to go there, what is necessary to go there. Have it proofread and approved if it's so have it as much ready to go as possible before you approach the designer. And also think about simple and what is complementary, what is simple and complementary to visuals, text and visual that should support each other and not say the same thing twice. So something that can be visualized, you don't need to put it in text, and say the other way around. So only put text that cannot be visualized or that shouldn't be visualized. It has to be text. Like for instance, date here, date and time here. You don't need to visualize that. We use text for it. Okay, and then for the feedback loop, I think it's important to have optimal number of people. So more people equals like different visions. So and it opens the door for having contradictory feedback. Or if you will have a large group of feedback loop, then have at least one designated contact point that consolidates the feedback to the designer. So we don't end up with having different contradictory feedback. Also, one important thing to keep in mind in terms of feedback is that feedback should always serve the main objective of the design and not individual preferences. So, so your main message should drive the feedback and also any criteria and parameters that were agreed upon before as well should not change during the feedback session unless it's absolutely necessary. So with that, I think that brings us to the end of the presentation. But just to reflect, visuals are tools for clarity and not simply decoration. Having nice looking graphics helps engage the viewer, but that should never be the only goal, because this is visual communication, so it should communicate efficiently and effectively. Keeping it simple is powerful, and if you are to collaborate with a designer, I think it improves when you bring your own ideas and visual thinking behind it. And with that, we'll say thank you.
Thank you, Hasan. That was very good. Thank you for sharing it with us and sharing your knowledge with us. At this point, we have a few minutes for questions from the audience. And then something else we'd like to do is to share a poll with the attendees of this course, like a 2-minute poll, so we can sort of understand what you like the most and what the audience would like to see next in our upcoming webinars. So feel free to ask questions live to Hasan now that he's online. If anyone wants to talk, you can just unmute yourselves and speak. Oh, in the meantime, I can just ask. Yeah. Okay, Hasan, for instance, what has been one of your most challenging tasks or projects when it came to translate information into, something visually compelling?
I think challenge. I mean, for me at least, the challenge doesn't come in like translating the information. I think it comes when the information that I'm supposed to translate I cannot fully understand, and that's when I think it goes both ways for the designer and the person responsible for the information to find a way to make sure that I understand the concept, because I don't have a scientific background. So we work with science here. So what I try to say is, or try to put us in position is, try to explain it to a child, to a 12-year-old child, and if you can explain it to them, then I will also understand. And then from then I just visualize what I understand of it or how they want to communicate it. If they can communicate to me what their vision is or how they want to communicate and what they want to communicate, then it's not that much of a challenge to do. Because there's tools and resources to do those visual translations, basically.
Super, thank you. Thank you, Sam. Okay, also, actually, we do have a question from Sudhir in the chat. Any advice on getting a balance between decoration and clarity? As sometimes decoration needed for getting attention. Decoration, okay, like making it pretty, let's say, right?
Yes, there is. Okay, I think if you start with the clarity of the message, once you achieve that through visualization, if your message is clear and understandable, then you can start decorating it. Then you can take that step as well. But decoration should not diminish the message. So that's where you have to try. Even for me, I try and go back and forth on how much I can push in it, as long as it doesn't diminish. Ideally, it should amplify the message. Any decoration you put in, it should amplify it or complement it. It should make it better, and that's where you find. And once you're working on something, it could be hard to see if it's helping or destroying. So for me, it's helpful to ask to get a second pair of eyes on it, and to ask them the right questions. For instance, what does this visual tell you? And if they can give the exact answer of what I'm trying to convey, that means my decorations is not diminishing the message. I wouldn't ask them if you like it or not. I wouldn't ask them, oh, what do you think about my decoration? I would ask them, what does it tell you? What does this visual tell you? And if the answer is accurately to what I'm trying to convey, then I'm okay.
Super. That's nice also how you frame the questions, because it's true that sometimes we focus on the different,
Yes.
on things which are not really relevant, right?
Absolutely.
Cool. We have more questions coming in the chat, so people warmed up, and I think if anyone wants, they should be able to unmute you should be able to mute yourself, but I just follow the order I see in the chat. Next question is from Leticia Maria. How are you incorporating AI?
Okay, so we have tested AI on some of the workflows. So far, it hasn't it hasn't helped in many ways. It has helped at a smaller scale. So if you try to do smaller elements within the design, for instance, like here you see polar bear, and if I just want a silhouette of a polar bear, and I can ask the AI to do it. This one is not done in AI, but if just as an example, if I ask the AI to do it, and if it gives me a nice outline, I can put it in my graphic. But if I ask it to give me the whole image, then it's very difficult, because even if I get the perfect image I want, and I'm working with a client or a partner, and they ask me to change something, then to make those changes is very difficult at the moment. It's not iterative. So it's not very helpful if I cannot change it so much. So it's faster for me to just do it myself at the moment. But in smaller scale, it does help. Like creating silhouettes is very useful, because silhouettes are just outlines, and you can if I get vectors, then I can also make changes easily as well. So I mean, in like Illustrator now, they have AI tools that create vectors. So that's easily changeable. So in those manners, it's helpful, but creating a final image using AI is still very far away to get that right.
Okay, so we're getting there, but not yet.
Not yet. I don't think it's ready yet.
Cool. Okay. And any specific tool you would recommend out of the ones you tested? Or you don't want?
I mean, I would recommend the tools that are available in like we use Adobe Creative Suite. So any AI tools that are available there, I would recommend using it because they are there to help the process of design. But there's a lot of tools on internet, a lot of new apps, AI apps coming up. And I'm very wary of it because they're on like subscription model and they have limitations. They have a lot of limitations, and it's mostly to me it seems like it's a way of making money rather than or collecting information rather than actually helping the designers. And I have tried some of those, so I wouldn't recommend using those type of apps. There is one good one. It's called OpenAI, which is, but it's also very limited. So if you were to use something like that, OpenAI is it? No, sorry, it's OpenArt, I think. I'll check. I'll double check. I think I don't use it that often, so I'm not sure. I think it's OpenArt.
Cool. Okay, no problem. If you find it, we can drop in the
Olivia
chat
just double
or in the
checked. It is
follow-up email.
Yes.
Or
Olivia
mention it
just
in the
double
next
checked.
webinar. Cool.
It is OpenArt.
Super. And we do have more questions in the chat, Hasan, so get ready.
Okay.
So do you have any, yes, do you have any more tips? Do you have any tips for video content creation? I guess it is, so this is a question from Noe. I guess it is very specific to the public you may want to target, maybe for the general public. So anything for video content creation you could recommend to Noe?
Video content, you mean in
or do
AI?
You also using any tool, right? Noe, you could feel free to also jump in case you want to add more information to your question.
Hello, do you hear me?
Hi.
Hello?
Yes.
Hey, Hasan. Nice to meet you, and thank you for the presentation. Very comprehensive. So basically, regarding my question, it was relating to either tools and also visualization. What you focused on, like when wanting to reach the general public through video creation? I guess that would be those two questions.
Okay. I think for video creation, I think Olivia, probably you have better. Isn't it CapCut?
Or for editing.
That's for editing.
Yeah. No, like which software to use for video creation. Yeah. CapCut is good for vertical videos. When I used to recommend it, it was quite free and available. But now they've added a lot of paywalls. For video editing, the one that I also recommend is DaVinci Resolve. So DaVinci Resolve has a free version that is quite powerful. And then if you do decide to buy the premium version, it's a one-time fee as opposed to Creative Cloud, which is every single month and it's very expensive. So I would check DaVinci Resolve.
Yes. And in terms of, I think your question about reaching general audience, I think that's more on fundamentals rather than using any specific tool. So storytelling, I think, is the best way to reach a general audience, because then if you don't have a targeted audience and you want to reach as many people as possible, one common thing is human engagement, and that's done through storytelling. And that's the most effective way I find to reach to bypass barriers of knowledge and cultures. Is because all around the world, throughout all professional backgrounds, one thing we have in common is our human experiences, and that's where storytelling comes in, and that's where you kind of like take on general audience, in my point of view.
Super. Thank you, Hasan and Olivia, for the contributions. Noe, is that okay as an answer?
Yes, thank you very much for your answer. Thank you.
Super. I think for video editing, also Canva is not bad. From my personal experience, it kind of serves the purpose, basically. What else? Next we have, Pape OSS. I think the visual communication itself is a narrative. Can visualization communicate better than wording. Hasan, I don't know if you okay with, would you like to answer?
Yes, is visual communication better than
Wording?
written
Yes.
written word? In my opinion, yes, but I am very biased on that. So because that is my background. But the thing is, I think both holds a space in some ways in society. Visual communication is more effective to convey very basic ideas, but also very complex ideas that cannot be conveyed using wording. So it can be used in both ways. And but if you go back to what I was saying in the beginning, it's like you sometimes only visuals are okay. Sometimes only words are okay, but sometimes you need both. And that's the balance you need to find when you're thinking about and each step of the way you can ask yourself, does this thing can be said using a visual easily, or does it need words? So for instance, if you want to point somebody, like you have a web interface and you want to have a button for a photo library, it's much easier to use a camera icon rather than to write photos. Then you also avoid having to have it translated if it's going to be in another language as well. So in some cases that where visuals are enough, maybe not to use text, but in some cases you do need text. Like for instance, you need captions for a photo. For instance, I mean, if you want to have a list of names of people, you need text for that. If you want to say have a date or time for a promotion of an event, you need text for that. You don't need to visualize that. And text works better for date and time. It's faster. So that's yeah. So you have to find ways. There's place for both.
Super, thank you, Hasan. Papa, do you want to expand on your question? I see you have your hands raised.
Okay.
Or maybe.
Yeah. Can I just share some experience about it, or do you have time a little bit, or do you hear me?
We have 1 minute because you see there's more questions in the chat.
No. So just to say me, I'm moving toward this communication, visual communication, because I think deeply that people are not reading any kind of text. They are so in a hurry that they the images or the signs, the visuals talks more than louder than the wording, because the wording need analysis and all of those things. And I think the visual communication can fit how the society is moving so fast in the IA context. This is my opinion about it. But anyway, we can just keep going on this discussion. Thank you.
Yes, I do agree with that as well. So.
Yeah.
Super. Thank you. We do have one more question from Connor Welsh. How to cope with the NGO's curse? Countless logos on everything. Huh.
Well, yes. So what I do is I try to push as much as possible, not to have all the logos on a piece of paper or flyer or webpage or whatever. So, but sometimes they really want it, and sometimes you just have to deal with it. One other solution is to have a QR code that links to every that goes to like a page online with all the logos or all the information about the partners and everything. Sometimes they agree to it, sometimes they don't, and sometimes they really want it. So then there is no way around it. I try to keep it. Here's where you can use visual hierarchy, basically. So you give it as little space as possible in your design, or try to hide it in your design in a way. So for instance, for a flyer that is like trifold or with 4 folds, you can put it in the last fold that is hidden inside one fold. Or you can add, like if it's like handout, you can have, instead of one flyer, you can have one other one that has just the logos and some information about the partners. separately. So there's some ways you can get away with, but it really depends on how willing the NGOs are or whoever is coordinating that to it. I try to push for it as much as possible as well, because it is very difficult to work with multiple logos on a design, and it takes away a lot of attention in terms of like visual communication away from the main message as well. But yes, it's a battle every time.
Super. But also, Hasan, would you say like that maybe not, as Connor was saying, like not everything needs the logos, you know, like maybe some social, maybe depending on what the material is, maybe like if it's something printed or a poster or whatever, then maybe okay.
Yes.
But if it's like maybe a small piece of digital communication, like a social media post or something like that, then maybe that doesn't necessarily need it. I don't know, like.
Yeah, that's definitely, you don't need it on social media posts. I don't think we've ever had that kind of request to have multiple logos on a social media post. I don't know. Yeah. I think that would be very unreasonable to have like maybe 25 logos on a social media post.
Yeah. Super.